Hey guys, so let's talk Friday Night Smackdown. We're I wasn't here Friday. I was with family, but I did tape the show and I did have the opportunity to go back and watch the whole thing, and it was a pretty decent show. We start the night with Kayla Braxton in the ring, and she is just going over the speculation that there is going to be a lifting of the suspension for Brock Lesnar. Which, honestly, if it's coming up in conversation, it's something people want to talk about and they want to know about it, right? They want it discussed. Well, because of that match in Saudi Arabia that Roman had with Brock Lesnar and the ensuing issues afterward on SmackDown that resulted in Brock Lesnar's being suspended as well as fined, you can imagine that Roman and Paul Heyman had quite a bit to say about this. And personally, I did not care for the way that Paul Heyman treated Kayla, but I get that it's WWE's way of getting some more heat on Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. And I get that they're heel characters, and that's kind of the point behind their characters. So I guess that's okay. Essentially, Paul Heyman said that if rumors was all that Kayla had, she was not a legit journalist, and until she was, it was time for her to get out of the ring, and essentially said goodnight. And I was kind of disappointed that Kayla didn't really have any rebuttal. She just left the ring like he asked, but that's okay. So then Roman and Paul Heyman brought up the Black Friday 25 man invitational battle royal, an elimination match to determine who is going to face Roman next. And Roman kind of went on about how he's beaten Brock Lesnar, he's beaten Big E, he's the best of the best, and it's getting kind of pathetic that WWE has to do this battle royal in order to determine who his challenger is going to be, and that they may as well let 3-4 men win. He'd take them all on, and he'd still win. I'm losing somewhat interest with this character, but I understand that there is still more for this story. There's still more for this feud and everything, so I understand that it can't be done just yet. Eventually it will, but not yet. and that's okay. I don't hate this heel character. We then have Nickel Cole and Pat McAfee. They are hyping up this battle royal, and they sent us to the match flow replay from last week, and that had Jeff Hardy versus Madcap Moss. And this ended up leading towards the Jeff Hardy and Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. Now, last week, what we saw was when Jeff Hardy was facing Madcap Moss with Happy Corbin in his corner, Jeff Hardy said, well, if you're going to have Corbin in your corner, I deserve someone in mine. And that ended up being Jeff Hardy. So we would end up getting this tag match, and it wasn't terrible. It was decent. Jeff Hardy and Drew McIntyre would end up winning. We do not know at this point which 25 men are going to be in the main event match. So we don't know if any of these 4 men that were just in this match were going to be in that. But we will find that out later. So we then go backstage, again with Kayla, and she is talking to Aaliyah. And Aaliyah walks away when Paul Heyman comes up. And again, he is giving Kayla a really hard time. Essentially asking her, did you happen to get any confirmation or denial of these rumors? And he even grabbed his phone and tried to make it appear as though she should call Brock Lesnar. And his words were, oh, wait, you don't have his number. And I don't have his new number either. That kind of thing. It was kind of rude, but before he left, he made a comment about how he was putting in a word that if she did not find out by the end of the night any confirmation or denial of the rumors, he would try to essentially get her fired. We then go back to the ring with Cesaro taking on Ridge Holland. At this point, Ridge Holland is accompanied to the ring by Sheamus. The two have become quite close, and if you'll also remember, Cesaro was teamed up with Sheamus for a while. The winner ended up being Cesaro with a roll-up, and then he was able to duck out of the ring before Holland or Sheamus could do anything. He did end up getting a selfie in with some fans. That was kind of a fun little segment there with Sheamus. We then go backstage. It is in the office of Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. Drew goes in there. He is pretty determined he's going to be in this 25-man battle royal that he deserves to be. He's a top star on Smackdown, and he has every right to be in it. That was when Adam Pearce said he would post the list as soon as he knew the participants, but that he had not been given that list of participants at that time. That seemed to be good enough for Drew McIntyre, so then he walked away. That was okay, but it sets things up for later on, and it lets you know that Drew is very serious about getting back into the main event picture. We then have a fun little match. It is Rick Boogs and Angel Garza. Now, Angel Garza would have his cousin by him in his ring, and Rick Boogs, of course, would have the Intercontinental Champion with him. It was a decent match. It wasn't terrible. Angel Garza would end up getting the win with this. Not terrible. It then goes to a snapshot of the Survivor Series match, and that Becky Lynch did end up victorious over Charlotte. And at that point, then we switch back to the ring where Charlotte is coming out to the ring, and she makes sure to let everybody know that the only way that Becky Lynch won and beat her was by cheating. But she doesn't hold that against her. And why? Because she knows she would do the same exact thing given the situation. She goes on and on about Becky not being able to win, and that she is exactly what Charlotte said she was. essentially a fake champion. At this point, we go backstage really quick, and at this point, Kayla is trying to stop Adam Pearce and ask him about whether or not he has heard about this suspension being lifted. And Adam was not happy about all of this and the property damage and everything else that Lesnar did. He said that he had not heard anything, and he would, of course, let her know if he did. And that's kind of where he left that. We then have Charlotte still in the ring, and she's still going on about being the better woman. Then, of course, Toni Storm comes out. I really like Toni Storm. I do. Becky is still my favorite, but I do like Toni Storm. I'm getting a little irritated that Charlotte is doing her heel thing, and I suppose that's what she's supposed to do. She's meant to kind of irritate people. Storm essentially says that she wants her match. And Flair more or less just tells her no. She's not going to give it to her, but she'll embarrass her by beating her to a pulp if she wants. And at this point, both of them have ended up outside of the ring. And that was when Flair grabbed a pie. And I don't believe this is what was left over from that Thanksgiving leftover match, because in that match, the table was busted. So this had to have been a different table that had been set up. But at any rate, Toni Storm ends up with 2 pies in the face. And the part about this one that I don't care for is that Toni did nothing to try to prevent it. Now, if you're trying to present this woman in a strong light, you would want to have her look strong. To do that, you want her to somewhat defend herself. Okay, it was pretty obvious that Charlotte was going to grab a pie. And it would not take all that much in order to put your hand up to block it or something. It's not like it happened fast. There was plenty of time for Toni to have reacted to Charlotte picking up the pie and putting it into her face. Both times. So I didn't care for that piece. I don't think it painted Toni in a good light, and I don't think it did anything good necessarily for their feud. You can continue with their feud and you can make it look good, but if you're not making Toni look credible as a threat, then the whole feud is pointless, and you're really not doing that by having her look so weak. So then we switched to footage from earlier in the day when Sasha Banks was confronting Sonya Deville about making her the captain of the team but not letting her pick the team and stacking the deck against her, putting a whole bunch of people on the team that were going to end up imploding and causing the team to lose. To which Sonya says she had nothing to do with that, and it was Sasha's job as the captain to pull them together. She failed to do that, and that was why the Women's Survivor Series team for SmackDown lost. She did say, however, that if she believed that Naomi would have been a better competitor to be on that team, she would give her a match teaming up with Naomi against Shayna Baszler and Natalya, who were on the SmackDown Survivor Series team. So we switched to that. And that match itself, it was a good match. Everybody kind of had their good moments. They really did. And Sonya was ringside, and she kept making it clear that she had nothing against Naomi. That she felt that both Naomi and Sasha were very good competitors. She also felt like Shayna and Natalya were also very strong competitors. I don't know that I necessarily buy any of that. And I feel like there's still something coming down the line there between Sonya and Naomi that's going to come to a head. And there was some looks between Sasha and Sonya, so there could be something at play there as well. I don't know when that would be. But we then see, so Naomi and Sasha ended up picking up that win. And you could see Sonya at ringside congratulating them, saying, I always thought that you guys were great competitors. I don't have anything against you. I don't feel like you're not good competitors. Then we switch to backstage where many of the superstars are checking out a page that was posted showing the members for this battle royal. And Drew was very upset when he looked at it to discover he was not on this list. So we end up with Sami Zayn, Eric and Ivar, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Mace, Mansoor, Cesaro, Ricochet, Drew Gulak, Rick Boogs, Jinder Mahal, Shanky, Madcap Moss, Happy Corbin, Jeff Hardy, Ridge Holland, and Sheamus. That's not 25. So I don't know if there's some that we're just missing, but that's not 25. At any rate, Drew McIntyre was not on the list. So before the match started, I do believe, Drew McIntyre came out and he clears the ring. He's got his sword. He's kind of shoving it at everybody, and eventually Adam Pearce came out and he got things under control there and managed to get Drew McIntyre out of the ring. While they were at commercial break, he went peacefully. There wasn't any damage. Nobody was hurt. He didn't attack anyone. We then got the match underway. Now, a couple of interesting things happen in here. Okay. One that I will point out is that at some point, probably maybe about halfway, maybe not quite halfway through the match, Sami Zayn slipped underneath the bottom rope. So he was not eliminated. He was technically still in the match, but he was not in the ring. And I did not see him at ringside, so I'm not sure where he kind of hung out at. But he kind of hung outside of the ring at that point. Also, during this match, one of the interesting things that we saw was Madcap Moss trying to eliminate Baron Corbin. But then he stops and, I got you. Just kidding. And at that point, Baron Corbin threw Madcap Moss over the rope. And Corbin was just like, no offense, nothing meant by it. That meant for himself. And Madcap Moss took this with a grain of salt and was like, no, you're right. Okay, I'll take it. So we had several people eliminated. People kind of teamed up on others to try to eliminate some of the bigger guys. One of those especially was Ivar. He was a bigger one to try to get over the top rope as well as Shanky. When all was said and done, though, the last two that had been in the ring were Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. I do believe. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please, guys, okay? Jeff Hardy would eliminate Sheamus, and the announcer, now the bell did not ring, but the announcer had said, and the winner is Jeff Hardy. And that was when Jeff Hardy would climb to the top and he would be pushed over the top rope by Sami Zayn. And that was when the bell actually rang. And then we heard, and the winner of this match, Sami Zayn. Okay, that was kind of weird. That you had both of those announcements. Now, I knew that Sami Zayn was still technically not eliminated, so I knew he was hanging out somewhere. And I knew that was going to come into play. But I'm kind of disappointed that they announced Jeff Hardy as the winner when clearly he was not the last man in the match. But it's okay. It's fine. I go back and forth on how I feel about some of these elimination matches and certain people. I'm pretty much always heels. It typically is not a babyface thing, but somehow, for whatever reason, they end up going underneath the rope or in between the middle ones and hanging outside, whether it's ducking underneath the ring, whatever it may be, and then sliding in at the last minute to actually win the match. It is a heel move, and it does get heat on that person, but it's getting kind of old. There are other heel things that they could do in order to get that heat that is not necessarily hanging out outside until the last minute, until there's only one other person. But that's what they did, and it gets more heat on Sami. That's fine. At that point, Kayla's back in the ring, and she's ready to congratulate Sami on his win and interview him on getting this opportunity to go up against Roman Reigns and ask him how he feels about this. Well, you then see Kayla kind of going like this, like she's getting some kind of news in her earphones or earpiece. And Sami's trying to talk to her. He's essentially giving her answers to questions she'd be asking, that kind of thing. And she's kind of like, and then she says, I'm sorry, Sami, but we've got breaking news, confirmation, the suspension has been lifted. Brock Lesnar will be back next week. And that's essentially how they go off the air. Well, they do go backstage and show Roman Reigns' reaction to this news that the suspension is being lifted, after there was a more joyous reaction to Sami Zayn being the winner of the Battle Royal, and that clearly Roman does not take Sami Zayn seriously as a competitor for that title. So it comes full circle, and Kayla does end up getting the breaking news, and we do find out that Brock Lesnar will be back next week. Roman and the Usos are not happy about this. So go ahead, give me a subscribe if you like this content. Leave some comments down below if you liked what you saw. If you have some different opinions, that's perfectly fine. Everybody has their own thoughts on what we saw, but I thought it was an okay show. And we will see you when we talk about Monday Night Raw.